So what was the very first thing you did when you went into work today?
As I did yesterday, the first thing I did was check our data pipelines. Wanted to make sure all of those were scheduling and worked their way through. It's probably something I'm going to be doing for the next couple weeks, just because our data pipelines are fairly newly installed, and there were, in the beginning, a couple weeks, just some kinks to work out. As of right now, they seem to be working pretty much all right, but I just wanted to double check to make sure, do a due diligence on that. Nothing freaky happened week 3 and I stopped checking in week 2. But after that, I got into a marketing meeting to talk about our emails. And in that regard, I kind of just sat in on the background of the marketing team discussing their own new campaigns that they're looking to roll out, and took notes on my own to sort of say, what are certain things that I could keep track of that might be able to provide them data points, maybe even during the campaign, but mostly after that campaign was reached or is concluded. Sort of ways that I could help summarize, or looking numbers that I'll know to keep track of so I can summarize and present to them afterwards.
So what kind of tasks did you get assigned, I guess, when you were in that meeting?
During that meeting, I did offer some help when it came to some of our marketing, our emailing concerns that are starting to be brought up. We're currently in the midst of deciding between 2 mass email marketing third parties. Essentially, you would hire or you use one of these other third-party web-based tools to house not only your marketing database in one position, but also who you use to send your campaign emails out from. That gives you some baseline statistics about bounce rate, click rate, read-through rates, and we're between 2 of them. And the one that I think we're going to be going with, the guy who was in charge of that needed some help exporting email addresses from another service over to that. So I offered to help with some of the list points for that, since I was pretty familiar with that element.
Now, how did you specifically help out with the emailing stuff? I'm assuming it's not just simple copy and paste from one screen to another or something like that.
Just with basic email, in the shorthand, we call it deduping, but it's basically looking for duplicates of email addresses between 2 sources of our data and comparing the lists with each other to identify only the unique existing email addresses, just so we don't have 2 of the same kind. So it's actually a fairly common practice to do this with your data. And it's so common, actually, that the tool that we use was Microsoft Excel. Excel actually has a button, essentially, in one of its ribbons, where if you have 2 sets of data, 2 columns of data, or even 1 column of data, you can hit the deduplicate button, and it'll eliminate for you all the duplicated email addresses, in our case, to leave only the unique values. So I helped them compare these 2 lists, get only the unique values, and then they were going to be in charge of using that list to then upload it to our new mass marketing tool.
So what did you do after that?
So after that, I got to work in setting up some parameters of looking at historical data, historical email data, if we had any, seeing sort of what the past success of the campaigns were in the past. And this was just sort of basic numbers as far as sales generated because of a campaign, duration of the campaign, just really familiarizing myself with the strategies that we used in the past, trying to compare and contrast really what the strategies are then going to be for this upcoming campaign.
So now you said you set up parameters. What exactly do you mean by parameters as far as a marketing campaign?
There's different ways to define a success, right? Arguably, the easiest way to describe a success from any campaign can be viewed as how much revenue did it generate. That being said, the area that my business in the industry that they're operating in, certain campaigns vary in size. That is, one campaign during the months of August, September, November might be able to bring in more revenue than a campaign that happens in the middle of the summer. So when I say set parameters, I mean to set benchmarks based on the time of year as well as past campaigns that are most similar to the current campaign running. Additionally, what I worked on were a couple other projects that were of a sort of lesser importance. For example, I had somebody in the sales team requests a automated email to be sent to them for updates on number of sales made during a given period of time. And the way that I would do that is to try to automate it. I would write a Python script that would gain access to the right data servers. In this case, it would be looking at Salesforce, pulling data from that Salesforce, picking out and filtering out the right data, and then sending an email to them. So I worked on writing that script today. Python is fairly growing in popularity due to not only how easy it is to learn, but also the number of different things that you can do with it. You can build apps on it that you could even work on your phone. You can build logic to run complex mathematical formulas on it. And it's open source, so a lot of the things that are, a lot of the script that is already written by other people that they figured out how to do is published on the internet and pretty easily accessible via a Google search.
So now, when did you first get exposed to Python?
I got my first introduction exposure to it at school. It was primarily analytics with Python that I learned in school, but since coming to work, I've learned how to do a lot of different other things with Python. It's not just limited to being an analytics tool, although it is very powerful in that realm.